Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at an extremely spicy Pokemon in the Great League, and it's honestly a Pokemon that I forgot was in Pokemon Go, and that is Hyper Beam Unfezant. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Chambabua, so many thanks for the battle submission. Unfezant is a normal and flying type Pokemon. It is extremely glassy. For the moveset, it has Steel Wing, Sky Attack, and Hyper Beam. It goes without saying, Unfezant, not a Pokemon I'd recommend for climbing, but oh my goodness does Hyper Beam hurt. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out Unfezant in the Great League. Hopping to the first match, leading Swampert into Azumarill. We're going to see the save switch into Unfezant. Opponent is going to respond with Gligar. Unfezant farming up, going for the Hyper Beam. Do they respect it? They do not! Unfezant one-shots Gligar, and back in comes Azumarill. The damage on that Hyper Beam was wild, but as you can see, Unfezant has zero bulk. Off fast moves alone, it was already almost into the red health. The opponent went for a Play Rough there, which gives us interesting information. That tells us that this Azumarill is running Play Rough and Hydro Pump, as if they had Ice Beam, which is cheaper than Play Rough, they would have thrown it there. And there it is. That is the Hydro Pump. In the back, opponent is going to have a Powder Snow, Alolan Sandslash. Firing off the Brave Bird, that's going to do some solid chip damage. And now Swampert will be able to pretty easily knock out here with a Hydro Cannon. Opponent is going to go for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is going to do a solid amount of damage. I honestly like the play from the opponent because I don't believe a Drill Run would allow you to Powder Snow down, so if you're going to need two moves, may as well go for the cheaper ones. Alolan Sandslash firing off another charge move. We will see the shield from the Swampert. Swampert continuing to farm, over-farming, and firing off the Hydro. Opponent is going to have to commit a shield here if they want to preserve the Sandslash, and they do. This is going to be able to knock out the Swampert. The question is, can Skarmory Steel Wing farm down here? Opponent not going to let that happen. Their switch clock is up. Back in comes the Azumarill. And oh my goodness, Skarmory makes it to the Brave Bird. Will this be enough to knock out? Brave Bird picks up the KO. In comes the Sandslash. Sandslash is unable to make it to a move. And that's a good game. Moving into the next match, leading Swampert into the Medicham. We're going to see an immediate save switch into Unfezant. Opponent is going to respond with Carbink. These rock throws shredding through the Unfezant, but the Steel Wings are adding up. We see Unfezant make it to the Hyper Beam. This is resisted, but it might honestly get the knockout, and the opponent ends up shielding. Unfezant grabs a shield from a Carbink counter switch. Oh my goodness. In comes the Swampert. Swampert going to be hit with a Moonblast, but Moonblast is not too threatening here. And Swampert can use this opportunity when the opponent doesn't have much fast move pressure to get a nice overfarm. So very nice energy management here in this one, as Hydro Cannon is going to pick up the knockout. Back in comes the Medicham, banking the Hydro for later. In the back, it's not a Talonflame, it is a Shadow Charizard, and that is incredibly fortunate. Talonflame, of course, with Incinerate, and this Skarmory would get cooked. But with Charizard needs to land a Blast Burn to do any meaningful fire damage, and the Skarmory still has two shields to hide behind. Skarmory continuing to farm, making it to the Sky Attack, again losing Charge Attack priority, and we will see a shield from the Skarmory as the Charizard double baits. So the Charizard saving as much energy as they can, but it's not going to matter. This Sky Attack is going to be able to knock out. Back in comes the Medicham. Medicham continuing to farm. Skarmory trying to make it to the move and gets to the Brave Bird on Charge Attack priority. Can Skarmory hang on here? It's just an Ice Punch, not a Dynamic Punch, and that will be game over as the Brave Bird from the Skarmory secures the victory. Speaking of Skarmory, we've got it on the lead in the next match. Swampert into Skarmory is a pretty decent matchup for the Swampert, although Skarmory, if it wants to, can potentially force a shield first, as one Hydro Cannon doesn't threaten the Skarmory a lot, whereas a Brave Bird definitely will. The Skarmory is farming up. We will see a shield from the Swampert. Is it the Brave Bird? Yes, it is. They're going for the Brave Bird and dip strategy. In comes Lickitung, answered by Unfezant. Unfezant, due to the normal subtyping, is double resistant to licks, but this Body Slam is going to do so much damage. Oh no, Unfezant getting absolutely torn to shreds by these Body Slams. This thing has no bulk whatsoever. Body Slam connects. Unfezant on 1 HP makes the Hyper Beam here. Do they respect the damage? They do not. Get that Lickitung out of here. Back in comes the Skarmory, and Skarmory is probably going to be met again with the Swampert, as Swampert does have some stored energy here and will be able to begin to pressure shields from the opponent. Because the Skarmory, again, it can be very threatening with the Brave Bird, but it has very little fast move pressure. Opponent makes a very nice catch as they catch a Hydro Cannon onto the Azumarill, but Azumarill not going to appreciate the Skarmory in the back. Oh, and it looks like the Swampert did make a moveset change. It's now running Sludge Wave here. One nuke has already landed. Can they go 2 for 2? No, the opponent is going to commit the shield, and in comes the Skarmory. Skarmory can tank any one move here, so we are going to see a no shield as the Azu is running Hydro Pump. That is a bit unfortunate. Skarmory continuing to farm, going for the Brave Bird. Is this going to be enough to knock out? The Azu still has a decent amount of HP, and the Azu lives on 1 HP. We're going to see a no shield from the Skarmory, putting faith in this game into the Swampert. Swampert gets the farm down. Back in comes the Skarmory, but the Skarmory cannot get this farm down before the Hydro Cannon is reached. Hydro Cannon knocks Skarmory out of the sky, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up an amazing lead, Swampert into Bastiodon. Keeping switch advantage, of course, will be a priority here as Bastiodon would shred the back line. Opponent save switches into Venusaur, and it's going to be real easy to keep switch advantage if they just switch lock up Venusaur, as Venusaur's worst nightmare, Skarmory, has entered the field. Skarmory is going to be firing off Sky Attack, not choosing to overfarm here. Could have definitely overfarmed, chosen to take a little bit of extra damage, but the opponent does not wait their switch clock. A very interesting choice by the opponent. Skarmory going to go for the Brave Bird here, trying to limit the farm, trying to make sure that there's as much time as possible where the Bastiodon is going to be locked against this Swampert. But unfortunately, it looks like the switch timer will be up. Skarmory is going to be firing off the Brave Bird, missing a couple bubbles there, and Bastiodon will finally get the farm down. In comes the Swampert. Swampert is going to be hit with a Stone Edge here. Stone Edge connects, continuing to farm. The opponent not switching into what should be a second Grass type is a bit of a surprise. The Hydro Cannon connects, that picks up the KO. In the back, it's Shadow Victory Bell, and oh no, these Razor Leafs are adding up. Is Victory Bell gonna win this? Oh, this is not good. Victory Bell firing off a move here. This is enough for the Acid Spray, and it is. This is bad. The Victory Bell, oh no, who's gonna win this? And the Swampert with 1 HP gets the KO onto Victory Bell. We've got some spice on the lead from the opponent in the next match, leading Swampert into Ariados. Now, Ariados is a Pokemon that can have access to Trail Blade, so I definitely don't mind the switch out into Unfezant. Opponent farming up, and they're actually firing off energy onto the Unfezant here. They go for the lunge, getting that guaranteed attack drop, and in comes Whiscash. Unfezant trying to make it to the Hyper Beam, but falls 1 Steel Wing short as the opponent makes the Scald. We see the shield from the Unfezant. Scald does not get the debuff, and now it's Hyper Beam time. This is 1 stage debuffed on the Hyper Beam, and it's still nearly one-shots. Oh my goodness. If they hadn't lunged first, then that just could have been a one-hit KO. Opponent is going to get the knockout with the Scald, and now, what do you choose to get farm on? Do you go for the Resistant Steel Wing farm down, or do you go for the Mud Shot down? It looks like the answer is the Mud Shot farm down here. Swampert going to be able to withstand a Scald here. Scald will still do some solid damage, and unfortunately does get the debuff as well. That is unfortunate. Back in comes the Ariados, however, and Ariados is now going to be hit with multiple Hydro Cannons. Hydro Cannon will connect. Swampert going for another Hydro. This may be debuffed, but it should be enough to grab a shield from the opponent. They are going to shield. In comes the Skarmory in the back. It's a Quagsire of all things. Quagsire definitely fallen out of favor just due to the complete dominance of Whiscash. But as we see, in a team where someone's already running Whiscash, running a bit of an ABB team, then Quagsire can definitely have a role. This Quagsire is running Stone Edge, and Stone Edge will definitely add up onto this Skarmory. Going to be firing off the Sky Attack. Sky Attack will be shielded up by the opponent, and Skarmory is going to be shielding up as well. But the pacing on the Quagsire is really good, and they bait with a Mud Bomb, but we see the catch onto the Swampert. Swampert doing a little bit of a shimmy there as it catches the Stone Edge. Terrific stuff. Back in comes the Ariados, but Ariados' energy is completely walled here. They go for the lunge, and that does absolutely nothing. So now as the Skarmory, you just commit to the farm down. It doesn't matter what they throw. Whether it's Cross Poison, Lunge, or Trailblaze, it's not going to matter. Even if they get you at -2 attack, a Brave Bird is still a Brave Bird, and that Quagsire has been running out of HP for far too long, as Skarmory is able to take that win. Moving into the next match, leading Swampert into Dubwool. A fairly neutral matchup across the board. Dubwool will have a slight pacing advantage to the first move, as it takes 9 turns to get to the first Body Slam, whereas Swampert does have to wait 10. Body Slam will connect. Swampert farming up. Swampert accidentally overtaps there, looked like trying to throw 1 in the move, which is proper timing, but unfortunately the game forces a second Mud Shot, but able to make a very nice catch onto Skarmory and get the Steel Wing through as well. Bad news, however, there's a Talonflame, and Talonflame is going to absolutely cook the Skarmory. Due to the 1 Steel Wing advantage, Skarmory is able to outpace and make the Brave Bird, but Talonflame can shield once, incinerate down, and Talonflame with 100 energy is very, very scary. You can send in the Swampert, but I mean, we can see the Swampert's HP. The Swampert is rapidly running out of options here, and Unfezant is extremely glassy in the back. Talonflame goes for the fly. Oh my goodness, risking charge attack priority there, but it works out. The opponent doesn't go for the extra Incinerate, and now we will see the shield from the Swampert, just trying to get rid of the Talonflame. In comes the Dubwool, gonna send in Unfezant and look for the farm down. This is not enough for a payback. It could potentially be a wild charge though, and it is! Oh no, Unfezant! Not like this! Unfezant gets 1 shot, and now Swampert is gonna have to try and sweep. In comes the Talonflame. Swampert firing off the Hydro Cannon here, but oh no, the entire Unfezant just destroyed in the back. It's Swampert, and this Earthquake is not going to be enough to KO because these Swamperts are not Shadow, so the Earthquake will get the opposing Swampert deep into the red, but unfortunately just not quite enough to be able to take that win. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Swampert into Registeel. Swampert picking up some very nice leads, and it looks like the Swampert is back on Earthquake, thank goodness. Swampert going for the Earthquake as soon as it gets it. Decision time for the opponent here. Are they willing to expend a shield? Yes, they are. Opponent is going to commit the shield, and we see Swampert shielding back. The opponent went for the Zap Cannon, fishing for that potential debuff. They get the debuff, and then a bit of a surprise. They end up switching out. We see the counter switch into Unfezant here. Opponent goes for the Icy Wind. That does so much damage, and my brain didn't even register that this is a Mud Shot Poliwrath of all things. Going for the Sky Attack. Sky Attack connects. Opponent does not respect the damage from, oh my goodness, opponent does not respect the damage from the Unfezant, and they pay for it. They could have made a play for switch, and with switch advantage, things are looking pretty solid for the opponent, but they don't respect the damage from Unfezant. They lose switch advantage, and now they're in a pretty difficult spot, where Skarmory does extremely well into the Dragonair, and the Swampert can shut down the Reggie. We are going to see these Sky Attacks shielded up by the Dragonair. Dragonair firing off the Aqua Tail. Again, this will not be enough to KO. Have to watch for a potential catch by the opponent here, farming up, and there's the catch. Very well executed here by the opponent, doing what they can in a very difficult alignment-related game. Back in comes the Swampert. Swampert making it to the Earthquake. This is going to hit for massive super effective damage onto the Registeel. Earthquake picks up the knockout. Back in comes the Dragonair. Dragonair firing off energy here. We will see the shield from the Swampert. At this point, Swampert can probably get a Mud Shot farm down. Oh, but it's not going to be needed. On 1 HP, getting the Hydro, not even hitting a single bubble, going for a little bit of a flex, and that's a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading Swampert into Lantern. Okay, very positive lead. Very nice to catch the anti-flyer on the lead, as of course Lantern in the back would absolutely destroy this backline. The awkward thing about Swampert compared to using something like a Whiscash is this matchup is very flippable for Spark Lantern. Especially if Lantern is able to successfully shield an Earthquake, which they do, this matchup becomes very, very awkward as the Swampert, whereas with Whiscash, Lantern is never really ever able to flip that just because Whiscash has way more bulk. Opponent is going to be save switching into a Shadow Gligar. Gligar now going to be hit with the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon is shielded, choosing to send in the Unfezant. Interesting. Could have sent in the Skarmory to completely wall it, but saying, you know what? I'm running Unfezant. Let's use the Unfezant. And Unfezant took so much damage from that Aerial Ace. Oh no. We're going to see Unfezant firing off the Sky Attack. That does big damage to the Gligar, and Unfezant is able to win back switch. Back in comes the Lantern. In comes that Swampert, and Swampert is going to be firing off the Earthquake. Earthquake, no shields left for the opponent. That's going to pick up the knockout. In the back, it is Vigoroth. Vigoroth does have an energy advantage, but Skarmory should just be able to take a win here with a Brave Bird. Opponent can fire off a Rock Slide, but it's not really going to matter. Skarmory able to withstand this damage, and again, the energy generation from the Steel Wing, now that it has been buffed, is pretty nice. Going to fire off the Brave Bird here. Brave Bird plus 1 more Steel Wing is going to pick up the knockout, and that's a good game. As I mentioned at the start, I honestly forgot that Unfezant even was a Pokemon, much less a Pokemon that was in Pokemon Go. So bravo to this trainer, using a Pokemon that I don't think I've ever seen it used before. So I just forgot it was in the game. And they're using it. It has Steel Wing now, which is obviously way better than its previous fast move of Air Slash. And that Hyper Beam, getting same type attack bonus, does absurd damage. As I mentioned at the start, this is absolutely not a Pokemon that I recommend using for climbing. You saw how glassy that was. Like 2 body slams from Lickitung basically 2-shot it. Like, this thing cannot take a hit whatsoever. So definitely something that belongs in the Spice Cabinet, not a Pokemon that I recommend for climbing. But when the opponents fail to respect the Hyper Beam, my goodness, the damage. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.